Here we are, back outside of the church. So we were standing here looking at Maderno's facade. We walked in, and then we were hanging out underneath the dome looking at Bernini's Baldacchino. And now we're back out in this area. Your next artwork. This area is also by Bernini. It's St. Peter's Piazza. The piazza is the public area or plaza, you might hear it referred to as a plaza, public areas, public space. This piazza in front of St. Peter's was designed by Bernini, and I'm being distracted because I wanted to tell you something else before we get to it. I want you to go to Rome. I want you to go see this stuff. I want you, if you're not afraid of heights or claustrophobic, you need to take the dome tour because you get a tour of the interior of St. Peter's Dome, and it's awesome, and you can take pictures, and it's really, really cool. Okay, when you do that, you know the deal. You have to take pictures and send them to me. Now let's go hang out with Bernini in the piazza. Now, the piazza is a really interesting feat of engineering because it fixes all of the overwhelming scale and size that Carl Maderno created. I mean, no shame to Carl Maderno, but the piazza creates a more intimate experience. This over-the-top big church is connected to the rest of the city through these, well, people refer to them as the arms of the church. They seem to extend out beyond the church in a kind of welcoming manner, like, come, welcome all. I like to think of them kind of like Lego arms, that they kind of look like Lego hands. Yeah. So these create a more intimate, more life scale connection to the viewer as you proceed into this. It also serves as more floor space for the church because, believe it or not, this church, even though it is extremely big, it is not enough for accommodating all of the people who want to come here, especially on holy days like Easter or Christmas. And so this piazza acts as an extension of the church, and people will congregate in this space as well. To give you a better sense of that, we'll come back to this. Here. This is taken from Easter celebration, I think in 2015, 2014. And what we have is the current Pope Francis, and he is looking over this massive congregation of people inside of the piazza. If we were to go back, Pope Francis is standing here. So you see what I mean? It acts as an extension of the church. Okay, so now this was designed by Bernini, and he had a few elements that he had to incorporate. The two fountains on either side of this obelisk, they had already been put in place, and he kept their original location, although that original location is just slightly beyond the framework of Maderno's facade. In the center, the Pope wanted to erect this ancient Egyptian obelisk. You see it there? Your question you just had in your brain that you didn't ask, it's a fair question. What in the world is an ancient Egyptian obelisk doing in the middle of a Baroque Christian church? It's history, baby. The ancient Romans, who started their empire in the city of Rome, that empire extended to Egypt. During that time, the Romans took this obelisk from their territory in Egypt back to the city of Rome as a statement of the power and extent of the ancient Roman Empire. The obelisk stayed there after the fall of the empire. It was located just up a little bit away from St. Peter's, and the Pope wanted it in the center here as a way to connect to the past. The ancient Roman Empire that had extended from England to Egypt, from Spain to Syria, and had gathered this ancient monument to the sun god. That's what an obelisk is. It's a monument to the sun god. It's not one of the sun gods. The Pope wanted to tie in that same legacy and power of the ancient Roman Empire to the Catholic Church. And not necessarily as a Catholic empire, but still that same kind of extent and power, because what is threatening it? Protestants. This is all part of the Counter-Reformation. Excuse me. So Bernini has to accommodate two fountains and the erection of an obelisk in the center. How is this characteristic of the Baroque? Remember our cheat sheet. Circles, squares, no. Ovals and rectangles. Okay. Where's my hair tie for this demonstration? Here it is. Remember? So we see the church the piazza. It's either being pulled to make an oval, or it's being compressed to make an oval. But it has that tension, that pull, and it accommodates and it balances out these proportions of those two fountains with the church. Now, it's lining, or to define the piazza from the rest of the palace structures of the Pope, which is technically called Vatican. We're not getting into the details. I'm sorry if that's overwhelming for you, but it's this larger administration center for the Pope. To define it and separate it from it, Bernini used these 4 sets of columns that he put into rows, and they extend up and around the piazza. What we're looking at here is this finished edge, and what you see is that he also used the temple front, didn't he? Just like Bramante had intended for the front of the church. So we have the temple front, the pediment, the columns, and it's like he did a copy-paste, all the way around. It looks a little curious because, well, you might think it looks broken. Originally, the plan was to close it off. The original plan was to have a gateway with 2 bell towers on either side, and the idea being that it would echo the bell towers and the central dome outside of Maderno's. It didn't work out. But I think it's actually for the better, and most agree, because when it keeps it open, it allows for that vista or that view. I know I'm scrolling back. I apologize to make you dizzy like this, but it allows for this view. Do you see it? It allows for this view where there's an unobstructed view. The piazza doesn't block our understanding of the church itself. Okay, close your eyes while I zoom back to our piazza. Okay, open your eyes. All right, so we're looking at this as a series of 4 columns. But what this also does is it creates this fantastic lighting effect. This is an older image of the piazza before the restoration of the stonework, so it looks very golden yellow. That's because of the dirt and pollution. But you can see here how the layering of those columns has created this highlight, midtone, and deeper shadow columns. And so what it does is it creates this visual ripple effect. And as you walk through the piazza towards the church, these columns seem to ripple as you see light and dark, light and dark, light and dark, light and dark, light and dark. This tickle of your eye, like a glitter, as you lead up to the church. The tops are lined with statues of saints. Now, Bernini wasn't carving every single one of these, but he was the lead designer and had many sculptors working underneath him. But again, this confirms the same kind of counter Reformation ideas of art and the importance of saints, because the Protestants said, no Pope, no saints. Mm-mm. And the Catholic Church was like, no, Pope is important and saints are important. And people coming to St. Peter's look up and they see the saints. They see the people that they have prayed to. They might be named after these saints. And they're all standing there welcoming you into this church, watching over you, protecting you. So it has this very dramatic theatrical effect. It's Baroque, right? It also is correcting an optical, or it's creating an optical effect that corrects Maderno's facade. What do you mean, Ms. Cortez? Okay, let's stand right here in the piazza looking towards the church. Now, I told you that Maderno's church is very big, right? We saw that the dome disappears, but it also is really wide. It has a very heavy horizontal band, and without a balancing or any kind of indication of the dome, it can be very heavy, overwhelming, to a bad effect. To correct this, Bernini pinched in these two elements here. So you notice how the church has this kind of diagonal angle leading up to it. Let me see if I can draw in it just to help make my point. You see how, let's use a different color. Okay, here we go. So we got one there, one there. Instead of running parallel. Why is this significant? Because imagine you are standing here. Your visual reference for the length of Maderno's facade is modified. Your eye will understand the edges of the piazza to connect to the edges of the church, which creates this optical effect of shortening the facade, or the horizontal length of the facade. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So by squishing the sides, it kind of balances or counterbalances that really heavy horizontal. But then as you walk forward, it also then rapidly readjusts because it's even bigger than you expected previously, like 10 steps back there. And so you're like, okay, here it's this big. Whoa, 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 it's even bigger. So again, the drama of the approach, those diagonal lines creating that flux of space. It's pretty cool. I will close this week with the restoration of the columns. Here it is. So the restoration project for just Bernini's Piazza took between 2012 and 2014. It was completed in 2014. And the restoration was to remove the dirt and algae and lichen and mold that like to grow in porous marble columns like this. If you are interested in art and you are interested in chemistry, you should look into art restoration. It's a beautiful blend of both. It's always going to be in need. So if you are unaware of this as an option, email me. I have a few resources that might help you get started on a career in art restoration, which I desperately want one of my students to do because I want to live vicariously through you. Okay, that is it for this week.